Hello, friends, and welcome to Coach Cut's Corner. Streaming bright from Michigan's capital city, this podcast is dedicated to helping you better understand the who, the what, and the why of mental performance, personal growth, and Lansing Stars baseball. Coach Cut's Corner, brought to you by Eyewash.
In collaboration with Lansing Community College.
And now here's your host, Stephen Cutter.
Welcome to Coach Cut's Corner. Thank you for tuning in and subscribing. Each week, I aim to provide insights into our program and inspire you to challenge yourself just as I continue to challenge myself. My goal is to help you enhance your life through these conversations. In addition to this podcast, I offer mental skills coaching for athletes at all levels, from the youth to professional. To learn more, visit CoachCutter.com. Today in the WLNZ studios, I have assistant coach Jeff Allen, and we're going to be previewing the topic of resiliency in the sports world. Jeff's role on our team is you're assistant coach here. You mainly work with our infielders. You help with our offense. You help with our day-to-day operations. You have a lot of titles here. Maybe only one on on the website with assistant coach, but as you know, in the baseball world and probably in all of the coaches' worlds, you've got to wear a lot of hats.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and you gotta learn to love wearing those hats too. That's one thing that I've really started to enjoy throughout my coaching journey is at first when I would get invited to coach something that I wasn't too familiar with, I would just get super nervous, and then you kind of just face it head on and learn as much as you can about it and pick the people's brains that have done it and done it successfully and kind of incorporate that into what you're working with.
Success leaves clues, and it's very important to pay attention to the people or programs or things that have had success. I want to start with a stoic thought on resiliency. I love the stoicism, and it's by Marcus Aurelius, and it's the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Obstacles and challenges aren't setbacks, but opportunities to grow stronger and more resilient. And I think when we run into obstacles or setbacks, oftentimes it's just frustration that takes over, and then you start stepping back. You take steps backwards.
Right.
And you've experienced obstacles and setbacks. I've experienced obstacles and setbacks, and the players that we coach all experience the same stuff. Yeah. So it's really just understanding that persistence and resilience only come from having been given the chance to work through difficult problems. And that's where resiliency comes from, by not necessarily stepping back, but stepping forward. Through it, you build that muscle of resiliency.
Right.
Mental toughness could be another word for it. I think athletes and coaches and individuals build resilience by embracing adversity and turning challenges into learning experiences. I think there's some common misconceptions about resiliency that I've heard. And a few of them that I think about is it's not just toughness. Resiliency isn't about ignoring emotions or toughing it out. It's about processing challenges, learning, and adapting. It's not innate. Resiliency isn't something you're born with. It's a skill you can develop through intentional effort and practice. It's the muscle.
Yeah.
It's not an absence of struggle. Resilient people, they still struggle. They might struggle more than the average person, but they just persevere and grow through it. So I wanted to talk about kind of understanding resiliency through your lens, and kind of in your words, what does resiliency mean to you, and especially in the context of sports?
Well, you touched on a lot of the points that resiliency means to me, but I think that the most important thing with resiliency to me is really being able to keep that long-term goal in focus if you're facing
Yes.
adversity.
It's great.
So it's just not necessarily focusing on what that problem is. It's just trying to take what you can learn from that problem and just keep pushing through it. And like I said, just keeping that main goal in focus.
Yeah, it's being able to see the trees amongst the forest, and it's being able to understand, what's my why.
Yeah.
That pushes you through things. When you don't know what your why is or why you want to do something, and I think we'll talk about that as we get further into this podcast, you're going to struggle.
Absolutely.
But when you know what your why is, you can definitely push through. How about in your playing career where resiliency was maybe a defining factor for you, whether it might be for success or maybe on the other side of the coin?
Yeah, I think that you can find a lot of points of resiliency no matter what stage you're in, whether that's coaching or playing. I think the one that sticks out the most to me would probably be the first school that I went to. I wasn't too sure where I was going to end up going to college. Finally found a school in Kansas, get down there, and I'm working hard, and shoulder blows out. So it's like, oh man, am I going to let that just define my career? Or am I going to keep that main goal in focus and, prove people wrong?
You had a bigger why, I'm assuming, when you got hurt.
Yep. I mean, just to be able to kind of show my family and my younger siblings that no matter what you're going through, as long as you just keep pushing through it and just stay focused, I think that you can accomplish anything you put your mind to.
Yeah. Usually those whys are pretty intrinsic. Usually they're not super extrinsic like fame or fortune. They're pretty intrinsic, and usually they do gravitate back to family.
Yeah, that's always been a big reason why for me, and I think that's definitely the biggest piece of resiliency for me, is being able to get through that shoulder surgery and then come back and continue playing, and now into the coaching career where it's really blossomed into something I really didn't see at the time. I just knew that I wanted to be involved with baseball in any way that I could, because it's, it can change lives.
Have you seen our approach to building resiliency in our program with our players, maybe both on and off the field? You could speak about like our offense and how we build resiliency there. I mean, what have you seen? Because you're fairly new here. You've been here with us for about a half a season at this point. We're getting ready to start our 2025 season. But what have you seen as we build in our program?
As far as off the field goes with building resiliency, I think that our leadership classes and our mental performance every day really plays a huge role in that. I think that the ability to keep pushing through your problems comes from the preparation that you put into it. So being able to go and consistently work on mental performance every day and go to our leadership class every week, that's the foundation of your belief system, is those steps. So I think that is a huge part of it off the field. I think on the field, as far as resiliency goes, especially with hitters, we do a lot of constraint-based training, which when guys come in, at least the freshmen I've seen, they'll be a little frustrated when they're going through, and you got your skinny bats and your smash factor balls, and you're really questioning things. But being able to push through that and realize that it's going to be harder in practice so that it's easier in games, I think that really helps with their resiliency on the field. And just the overall, it's kind of a buzzword, but the culture in our dugout when like a guy gets out, or they're not having a great day in the field, when guys come and pick them up, that also helps with that resiliency, because it would be nice to be able to be resilient by yourself all the time, but having a strong support system around you really helps with that resilience, I think.
I love that. I think that as coaches, we face challenges that require us to stay composed and bounce back quickly. And that's kind of where the modeling comes into play. And we're constantly facing challenges. And can we stay composed? And can we come up with a game plan to bounce back? Just like at the football level, you get a halftime to make adjustments for what just happened in the first half. Maybe you want to keep stacking bricks with what you're doing, and maybe you want to just change the whole foundation of what that first half was and start over with a really small micro brick. And we're going to come out of the locker room and we are going to do this because we couldn't do this one time, you know. And so that's kind of what it looks like. But then there's also the other piece where you're trying to balance being tough on players with showing them grace and understanding. And that's one of the things of that where I'll use like the words like seek perspective.
Yeah.
You know, somebody shows up late for something and you automatically want to say, this is where our standards are. But you also have to have a little bit of compassion and know they're young, probably living on their own for the first time, probably trying to figure out, you know, X and Y for the very first time without a whole lot of help outside of our program. And it just happened. And it's not so much about that it just happened. It's about showing a little bit of empathy, a little bit of compassion, and saying and thinking if they can grow from this.
Right.
If they're showing up late every day, then we have a large problem. But if they mess up and they can grow from it, then I believe that's called impact, and I love impact. And we see players in our program that come in, they might be a little bit selfish, they're into themselves and not necessarily always thinking about others, and they mess up sometimes. And it's like we have high standards here, we hold them accountable, but there's also some empathy for them. And we allow them to grow. And that's I think a big reason why we see a lot of the growth that we do, because I mean, you even hit on it in our offensive side of the practice. It's challenging. There's a lot of failure. That's not a buzzword. We're not overblowing something. It's the real deal. There's a lot of failure. And if you get a round of 7, there are stations where you will be super fortunate to get, you know, 3 barrels off a round of 7.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's challenging. And instead of saying, poor me, I suck, I you know, those things that you initially hear in the start of the process, pretty soon you start looking around and you see people shaking their heads saying, this is what it looks like.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, when I see that, this is what it looks like, I'm thinking, yep, that's where the resiliency muscle is starting to grow. And in our sport, and I believe in all sports, but baseball is extremely, extremely challenging sport.
Have to be resilient.
And there's a lot of challenges that are thrown at you, not only in the box, but on the pitching rubber, in the field, on the scoreboard, with the weather, with the umpires, you know, just with fans, with travel, with food, with everything. So you're getting all these things, and somehow you've got to somewhat try to build in programs calluses, so that you can become stronger. And those things can become more than just a buzzword of we focus on what we can influence, and they become something that you are. And it's just it's a really special thing. And I think adversity is inevitable on the path to greatness. Resilience is about adapting and thriving when faced with challenges. There's a stoic philosophy that says you have power over your mind, not outside events. Sounds like a baseball game to me. Exactly. Realize this and you will find strength. And I think in my coaching career, I've experienced a ton of adversity, not only for myself and family, but I've also experienced it just as the coach, watching players go through things that are much bigger than striking out or throwing a ball to the backstop.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably where some of the adversity and empathy come together for understanding. We try to teach in our program, I think, what a lot of people try to teach, and we just do it with insane consistency, but to control what you can, focus on effort, attitude, and how you prepare. Those are all things that you have total bear hug around that you can do. And we try to reframe failure. Failure isn't ever the end. It's more or less feedback. And it's sometimes awful tasting medicine, but you need it. And we try to encourage athletes to ask, what did I learn from that?
Yeah.
What did I learn? And I don't think you need to lose games to learn. But I think when you do experience setbacks, if you can ask yourself, what did I learn? You have a chance to continue stacking bricks and moving forward. And then probably the last thing is really just understanding that it's micro wins. It's celebrating small victories helps build that muscle of resilience. And this is really tied into our brick stacking philosophy. And you can win, you can have incredible days when the scoreboard says that you shouldn't be.
Yeah.
And you can have amazing moments when the box score says that you didn't have a great game.
Right.
It's about plus ones. It's about stacking. I believe there are 4 layers of resiliency, and I wouldn't mind if you added something to these 4 layers if anything pops in your mind. But as I was preparing for this podcast, I thought, you know what? There's mental resilience, the ability to stay composed under pressure and bounce back from mental challenges. There's emotional resilience, how you handle the emotional toll of setbacks and failures while trying to stay positive and trying to stay focused. What's your why? There's physical resilience, the importance of caring for your body to endure the physical demands of sports and life. And you think about the physical resilience that we have in our program, because it's going to be challenging and you need to be able to take care of your body to the best of your ability. You might not have all the people that some other programs have, but you can focus on what you can control. And the final layer is social resilience. And it's building and leaning on a support network, which can be us as coaches, it can be your teammates, it can be your family, and it can be your friends. How do you think like our team culture promotes resiliency amongst our players and staff?
I think that kind of like I talked about earlier is just like the ability of our guys to be able to pick somebody up when they can tell that they're not feeling the greatest at the moment. And I think that going through and kind of switching that mindset from, oh man, this is a failure, to the micro wins, you know, where it's like, okay, on the scoreboard we failed, but I'm gonna grow more from this than I would have if it would have been a cakewalk for me. You know, there's always something that you can improve on. I feel like you really get the most to improve on out of those failures or said failures.
Yeah, that's incredible. I think this is kind of like a toolbox time. This is ways that you can teach resiliency in your program or in your family. You start with controlled adversity. We put players in challenging situations during practice, simulated high pressure scenarios to build their confidence in overcoming challenges. That is a controlled adversity environment. We celebrate effort, not just results. We praise the process. We praise things like hard work, preparation, grit, rather than focusing solely on wins and losses. As you said with the micro learning, it's really invisible growth. You're stacking these bricks pretty soon, if you stack them right and you have the right mortar holding those bricks together in the middle of those, you will see a wall.
Yeah.
And you keep stacking, and pretty soon you get a big wall, and then pretty soon it becomes a house. And it's this incredible thing in team environments. We try to create a safe environment for failure. Let players know failure is part of learning. When they fail, don't yell. Ask reflective questions like, what did you learn? What can we do differently next time? Set small, very small, achievable goals. Break challenges into manageable pieces and focus on consistent progress. Practice gratitude. Reflecting on what you're thankful for shifts focus from setbacks to opportunities. You can't be thankful and mad at the same time.
No.
It's just not possible. And you have to develop emotional regulation. We try to teach athletes to pause, breathe, reset, instead of reacting impulsively to the tough situations.
Yeah.
I think immediately umpires.
Yeah.
Let's not have a reaction there. Let's breathe, let's reset, and let's seek some perspective here.
Yep. Just adjust.
Journal. Resiliency is can be built by the journaling. We encourage players to jot down moments they overcame challenges and what they learned from those experiences. Our program journals after mental performance on a daily basis. You'll see journals in the dugout. You'll see journals on the bus, and I think some of the questions I've got asked about some of this stuff is like, well, how do you get buy-in? And it's like it's whatever you ask for. Yep. Right? Yep. You've got that hour and a half or 2 hours or 3 hours with that team. So what are you going to ask for?
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe you're going to ask the first time and it's not going to be completely perfect. Not everybody's going to remember to bring their journal for practice, but you don't necessarily have to take that person that forgot their journal and have them go, run the fence or whatever. But it's like, hey, what can you learn from this? And it's like, I'm going to make sure I put it in my backpack every morning when I go to class, and I'm going to have it for practice or whatever. And it's like, yeah, there's a brick stacked right there. And pretty soon you have the buy-in. And then pretty soon they're journaling, and then they look back on it a month later and they're like, whoa, I can't believe I was feeling terrible about doing this said constraint drill. And now I see success. I see growth. And then really to dive deep into the weeds, it's about neuroplasticity. Yeah. And without getting super deep in the weeds, it's just understanding it's the brain's ability to adapt and rewire itself in response to challenges. When you repeatedly respond to adversity in a positive way, you strengthen pathways that make resilient behavior automatic.
I like that a lot. Well, Coach Cut, do you have any final advice for our listeners on kind of embracing that resiliency in their own lives, whether they're players, coaches, or parents, or pretty much anybody listening?
I think that's a solid question, and I know that I've turned to over a period of time with resiliency and coaching, kind of a top 10 processes for building resiliency. And why I've turned to that is because I think it's imperative for teams to build resiliency.
Yeah.
And embracing resiliency is about adopting a mindset and habits that help you navigate challenges and bounce back stronger. So here are 10 ways to approach it. Number one, reframe challenges as opportunities. Shift your mindset to see adversity as a chance to grow and improve. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what can I learn from this? And remember, setbacks are setups for comebacks. Number two, focus on what you can control. We've heard it often. Control your effort, attitude, and response to situations. But it's so true, because resiliency thrives when you stop wasting energy on what's outside your control and double down on your actions and your mindset. It doesn't matter how cold it is out today.
Yep.
You're not going to die. you're just uncomfortable,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Have you heard that before?
Oh yeah, especially in the UP.
Number 3, build a strong foundation. Daily habits. Stack your bricks by building small, consistent habits that improve your mental and physical strength. These practices create resilience over time. A reliable routine helps you stay grounded when life gets chaotic. Remember your why. Accept failure and learn from it. Understand that failure is part of the process. It doesn't define you, it refines you. Use failure as feedback. Analyze what went wrong and how to improve, i.e., journaling is a great way for that. Number 5, lean on your support system. We talked about this already. Surround yourself with people who uplift you and challenge you to grow. Sharing struggles and receiving encouragement helps build mental fortitude. Stay present and focused is number 6. This is a huge one because we have so many distractions. Resiliency grows when you focus on the moment rather than worrying about the future or regretting the past. A great way to do this is use mindfulness techniques like deep breathing, journaling, meditation, yoga, that kind of stuff to stay in the present moment. Number 7, cultivate a growth mindset. Believe that you can develop skills and overcome obstacles through effort and persistence. Remember Carol Dweck's principle. She wrote the Great Mindset book. Failure isn't permanent. It's a step towards growth. Number 8, 2 words that I use very often. Seek perspective. Step back and look at the bigger picture. A challenging moment doesn't define your entire journey. Remember that tough moments are temporary, but the lessons learned can last a lifetime. Number 9, celebrate small wins. Acknowledge the process and progress that you've made, no matter how small it is. Each win, each +1, reinforces the belief that you're capable of overcoming obstacles. And finally, number 10, stay true to your values. Let your purpose and your core values guide you when the going gets tough. Resiliency is easier when you know your why and why your why helps you push through. Embracing resiliency isn't about never failing. It's about always getting back up stronger and hopefully more determined. It's the practice of taking life's hits and turning them into fuel for future success. That is my top 10. Thank you, Jeff, for joining me today in the WLNZ studios. Make winning in life your habit, not your goal. Remember, excellence is a daily practice, not just a prize. Build great habits and practices that serve you so that you can serve others. And don't forget to cherish the small moments. They pass by in a blink of an eye. Until next time, thank you to all of our listeners. Be resilient. Ultimately, we're all playing a game we can't win, so why not play it to the utmost? Go all in and go Stars. Coach Cut's Corner is recorded live in the WLNZ studios. Engineering and production assistance are provided by Dedalian Lowry. Thanks for listening. And if you enjoyed today's podcast, please share it and follow us on all the platforms of social media. You can find more about our program at lccstars.com, and donations to our baseball program can be made at the same site. See you next time.